The Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
Good evening and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm David Rose. And we begin tonight with the continuing debate over jail versus treatment for repeat drug offenders causing chaos in our communities. And now Marysville has a new mandate, 3 strikes and you're out. If you are convicted of using drugs in public in Marysville 3 separate times, you'll spend 30 days in jail. The Spotlight's Lauren Donovan reports this ordinance, the first of its kind in Snohomish County, also tackles property crimes that have plagued the community.
It'll also apply to those who shoplift or trespass. The police chief here in Marysville, he tells me it's going to keep repeat offenders off the streets.
We hear loud and clear from our community that this is something they want. So when it comes to repeat offenders in our community, we want a tool that can help them get out of that cycle of not only criminality, but addiction.
Marysville City Council voted unanimously to crack down on public disorder crimes. These include third-degree theft, so stealing anything valued over $750, criminal trespassing, vehicle prowling, or using drugs in public. Police Chief Eric Scarpin explained, right now, if you're convicted of one of these crimes, you'll likely spend a short 24 hours behind bars. But under the new ordinance, if you're convicted 3 separate times, you'll spend 30 days in jail.
The crimes that are included in this ordinance are ones that we see definitely associated with addiction in our community.
And that's why there's also a treatment option.
Somebody can elect to follow treatment as opposed to staying that time in jail, but there is a consequence. If they walk away from treatment,
don't follow through and you'll finish the sentence. The chief tells me they've got the space here at the municipal jail to accommodate an influx of bookings. The Marysville City Council president says, quote, residents and businesses have been victimized by chronic and repeat offenders long enough.
This law is gonna help, I think.
Small business owner Joe Cranford seems to be encouraged by it. He tells me petty theft is common in this part of town. He sees it at the grocery store all the time.
There's been so many situations where I've had somebody like push me as they're running out the door and they got their pockets full of stuff or they got a cart full of stuff.
Marysville police say since the start of 2022, there were 294 people who had 2 or more qualifying arrests. The chief hopes this new ordinance will at long last hold them accountable.
Because there's not much repercussions for these individuals, they're just continuing to do whatever they want.
The ACLU of Washington has criticized this new mandatory minimum, saying you can't punish people into recovery.
Now to a family's desperate plea for help in a heartbreaking and mysterious hit-and-run death.
Always singing. Yeah, I just remember her being just my little cousin. I can't eat, I can't sleep. It's just very painful to deal with something. She was so young. She's only 35. I feel that it's a high traffic area and somebody had to have seen something.
That's the heartbroken cousin of 35-year-old Gina Blatchford. The Washington State Patrol says Gina was killed while walking along I-5 in Marysville. It happened on Wednesday, October 4th, around 6:30 in the morning. She was found just south of milepost 199 near 4th Street on I-5. Troopers say Gina was walking north and the driver was also in the northbound lanes. Right now, they do not have a description of the vehicle that hit her. Gina was a sister, a cousin, a mother of 4, and a Tulalip tribal member. Her family says that everyone who knew her loved her. And now they're asking for help because they want justice for Gina. If you saw someone walking along I-5 in this area either late at night on October 3rd or early in the morning of October 4th, State Patrol in Marysville wants to hear from you. You can also contact Crime Stoppers through the P3 Tips app on your cell phone if you wish to remain anonymous. A mom from Auburn is speaking out after her young daughter and her babysitter witnessed a drive-by shooting while walking to a nearby elementary school. She says the bullets are quite literally hitting too close to home, with at least 2 other shootings reported in that same area in the same week. Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling talked with that mom and the babysitter about this close call with a gunman.
Carly Willis says it's terrifying to think that her daughter could have died while walking down the street. Witnesses believe that the gunman was aiming at someone else in a vehicle or on foot, but that's of little comfort to those who were in the line of fire.
You're a wiggle worm. Yeah.
Babysitter Brittany Reed was walking Carly Willis's daughter, 3-year-old Kalita, to Gildo Ray Elementary to pick up her own son when suddenly the bullets were flying.
There was just pop, 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 pop.
This bullet hole in a home off of 37th Street Southeast marks the spot where those shots rang out, less than half a block from where Reed and Kalita were standing.
Panic. You know, that's a kind of moment where you're not sure if you're going to survive.
Reed saw the gunman leaning out a car window before pulling the weapon back inside and hiding it.
Wasn't paying attention to where he was going, so he was coming directly at Kalita and I.
Reed grabbed Kalita and ran.
Swerving back and forth down the road, going who knows how fast. There was really no place for us to hide.
When they were safe, Reed called Kalita's mom, the youngster unaware of the danger.
My sitter called me in tears and just very shaken up, and my daughter is in the background saying, pop, 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 you know, like, oh, this is so fun, you know. So that was terrifying as a parent to experience.
Nearby Gildo Ray Elementary, where Reed's son was in school, went into lockdown during the shooting. The same week, Willis said shots were also fired on M Street behind her store, Antiques Marketplace, and off 29th Street Southeast, where injuries were reported.
In my opinion, this is all because of the pursuit bill. We've tried it. It's not working. Something has to change.
Meantime, Reed and Willis are counting their blessings.
Could have got hit by a bullet, by a car.
It gets worse and worse every time I think about it, and I think of her proximity to those shots.
Reed said she had to push past anxiety in order to walk that route to go drop off and pick up her son once again. Auburn police are investigating.
Caught on camera tonight, exclusive video of an armed robbery in progress. Not only did they scare customers and the clerk, they left behind a huge mess. Take a close look at this video from just before 3:30 Monday morning at a convenience store on Veterans Memorial Drive East in Bonnie Lake. You can see a man in gray with a hood pulled over his head reach over the counter, grab an entire display of vaping products, and run out the door. Seconds later, the suspect in a blue jacket does the same thing, grabbing a display and sending another spilling to the ground. Here it is from another angle from a camera in the ceiling. As that suspect in gray runs out the door, a customer approaches. Well, he quickly backs away and puts his hands up. That's because the suspect in the Nike hoodie threatened him with a gun. Just hours after this robbery, 2 of the suspects then stole liquor from a store in Auburn. And as you can see, the suspect in the Nike sweatshirt is one of the same suspects. Here's a look at the other suspect wearing gray with some kind of small backpack in the front. They ran to a stolen Kia to escape, and that's where detectives got a good look at one of their faces. He took off his mask and he looks right into the camera. If you know his name or you have any information to help identify him or any of them, please contact Bonnie Lake Police. There is a silent epidemic happening to one of our most vulnerable populations. Thousands of senior citizens are being victimized, and in many cases, by the people closest to them. But oftentimes, they're just too ashamed or embarrassed to say anything about it. And that has the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office trying to raise awareness about elder abuse. The Spotlight's Frankie Thompson joins us with details on their latest case.
This is a pending case with the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office where one woman is now charged for stealing personal information and several $1,000s from 44 people. Prosecutors say this case required extensive investigation, but tell me they are concerned there are more cases of elder abuse out there because they're not being reported.
In the fight against elder abuse in King County, these 3 prosecutors are leading the battle towards justice.
People who are being victimized are our parents and our grandparents and our friends, and they will be us in the future. And as a society, you know, we care. I hope we care about that.
There were nearly 13,000 cases of elder abuse reported in King County in 2022, most commonly financial exploitation and neglect. But these 3 prosecutors believe there are far more, as cases are woefully underreported.
They don't report because they feel that they brought it on themselves. There's also a fear of what will happen if I report. If that perpetrator is someone they rely on physically, financially, emotionally, and they report that abuse, what then happens to that person? Are they going to have to move into a facility? Are they going to lose their home? Are they going to lose the independence that they have?
They say most senior citizens are at risk because of social isolation or conditions like dementia, and the people that prey on them the most are family and caregivers. In one of their bigger cases, the court found L. Bakersdale Lowe guilty of theft and securities fraud. They say Lowe conned $900,000 over the course of 1 year from the 97-year-old father of famous saxophonist Kenny G, scamming the man into signing a contract to invest in her business.
She failed to tell him how low her sales were and how really the business was completely undeveloped. It was more of an idea for her than anything else. But he was aging, he was, he'd lost his wife, he was no longer working, and he'd really lost his identity, which I think happens to a lot of the older male victims that we see.
Prosecutors provided this list of luxury items Lowe spent the money on, from designer clothes to cars, cosmetic procedures, and vacations. Investigations like this require extensive work, but after the COVID-19 pandemic, prosecutors say it's hard to find detectives these days who have the skill set needed for elder abuse cases.
And so we're dealing with a lot of law enforcement agencies that don't even have the resources to investigate these cases. And when they do, they have detectives who just don't have the experience or the knowledge to know how to investigate them.
The group of prosecutors say they are working on improving opportunities to offer more training to all 36 law enforcement agencies within King County. But they're also asking for the public's help. If something seems suspicious, report it immediately, as it could prevent elders from a devastating trap.
We want to protect the people who are most vulnerable. And we think of children as being vulnerable, which they obviously are, but the elders are too, and we really have not been talking about that the way we need to be.
National experts say financial exploitation costs senior citizens more than $28 billion each year. Prosecutors say in those cases, 72% of money stolen from elders is from people they know.
Now to a developing story out of Tacoma. What is the truth behind a viral video that showed a naked man running through a department store in the Westfield South Center Mall? The Spotlight obtained this video of the man inside that store fighting with shoppers. There were claims the man had molested a child in the mall. Tukwila police looked into it. They looked into this video that was provided to us by Dubsy TV. And after speaking with witnesses and reviewing the video, they found no evidence that he had done anything against kids. Police say the man was in the middle of a mental health crisis. Police say he was arrested for assault, though, and was taken to the hospital shortly after the video was taken. If you or someone you know needs help, just call 988 to connect with the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline in our area. 28 counties in the state are at odds over what to do with people who are accused of crimes but aren't competent to stand trial. Those counties just got a big win. The state is now being told to evaluate and treat those patients. It's an update to a story the Spotlight's Matthew Smith first told us about in August. And now there are questions about what the state is actually able to do.
Well, it seems like the state is hesitating to say that they can actually comply with this court order here. And I say that because I did reach out to DSHS to ask them whether or not they could comply here. And in their written response, they say that their, quote, intent is to follow the state law to the best of our ability.
It's their duty. It's their legal obligation to figure out how to get this done. And you can't, when you have a legal obligation, when you have a court order staring you in the face, you can't say, it's just too difficult, I'm not going to do it.
For months, counties have complained about the delays in patient processing and how the state's running its facilities, like this one, Western State Hospital. Now, back in August, 22 counties band together to sue the state. Since then, 6 additional counties have joined that suit. What they're demanding? That the state give mental health evaluations to individuals that aren't competent to stand trial, and for DSHS to give details to law enforcement and prosecutors when they release people from state mental health hospitals. Thanks to a court decision on Friday, at least for now, the state has to. The counties call it a win. King County's executive saying, quote, this significant legal action underscores the state's responsibility, with DSHS telling me this preliminary order puts us at odds with the federal court order to limit admissions to the state hospitals. Now, that comment comes after the state was found to have breached past agreements to give treatment to people awaiting trial. Fox 13 has previously reported on the concerns. One example, Alexander J., the man accused of beating an elderly woman at a light rail station, even throwing her down the stairs. Thanks to a long wait for treatment, hundreds of taxpayer dollars were going to him every single day. So here's the deal. The state says that this court order puts them at odds with what the federal court has already told them to do. But the counties say that's just a misread of what the law is in this situation. But the bottom line is there's not enough mental health beds in the state to really get people the help that they need. And while there is work to bring more online, it's not happening fast enough to keep up with the need.
Several groups gathered outside the Tacoma Municipal Building this week to speak out against the city's year-old camping ban. It prohibits camping and storing personal belongings within a 10-block radius of the city's existing shelters. The move also bans encampments within 200 feet of rivers, waterways, creeks, streams, and shorelines. Critics say the city needs to provide better solutions rather than making homelessness illegal. In response, the city of Tacoma says it has not issued a single citation, fine, or infraction under the ban, and no one has been arrested. Instead, city officials emphasize the positive impact of its Homeless Engagement Alternatives Liaison Team, or HEAL as they call it. It's focused on connecting people with resources. In the last year, they say they've helped 200 individuals who were homeless find housing. A community in mourning, coming together, almost 100 people gathering outside the little store in Tacoma for a candlelight vigil for Charlie Park. The store owner was shot and killed last week. 18-year-old Angel Mendez was arrested for first-degree murder in the case. Mendez pleaded not guilty in court. His bail has been set at $7 million. The judge ordered our cameras not to show his face. Court documents show that another clerk in the store at the time of the robbery was the first to be threatened by the suspect. He told police the suspect came into the store and asked about an electric cigarette. The clerk says the suspect then pulled out a gun and put a trash bag on the counter, telling him to fill it up. That employee pressed an emergency button under the counter that automatically calls Charlie Park's family. Their home is located on the same property. Seconds later, Charlie could be seen on security video. He runs to where the suspect had been standing at the counter and raises his hands as if to surrender. He was gunned down seconds later. Well, friends and customers came together to make sure that Charlie would not be forgotten, that would not be the last memory of his legacy.
One by one, they lit candles outside the little store. This Tacoma community coming together to remember and honor the life of Charlie Park, who was shot and killed Tuesday during a robbery.
But we're not here just to remember a tragic event. We're here to celebrate the life of an incredible man who meant so much to all of us.
Even though Korea is his birthplace, he considered here with you, he considers this his hometown.
Family friend and pastor Kelly Lou offered up this message from Charlie's wife Rana, who along with his children are overwhelmed by the love and support they're receiving.
When she sees every flower that you've placed here and you come and replace it and take care of it, that because of that, it gives her strength. It gives her courage and it gives her the will.
Saturday's vigil was about remembrance and healing for the dozens of people who showed up. As the crowd held candles, people shared their personal stories of Charlie.
Strong at the same time, but tell you what, very well good man to the community.
Charlie's smile was something, it was different. He would walk here on rainy days with a smile on his face. And, I'm driving by soaking wet, thinking, why is he smiling for? Because he was such a smile, happy person. He watched out for all the children.
And they say Charlie Park often gave out goods for free, even letting some customers walk away when they didn't have the money to pay. They say he loved this community and the little store.
When we think about small business, and he could have invested anywhere in this community, and he invested in a neighborhood where many people won't even drive down the street.
The vigil ended with a simple chant paying homage to Charlie.
We love you, Charlie! We love you, Charlie! We love you, Charlie!
The owner of a small Pierce County farm is sounding the alarm. She tells the Spotlight that her family is being victimized by an organized crime ring. But she says the Sheriff's Department isn't taking her seriously. Ashley Little and her husband own and operate the Little Farm in Graham. Ashley says a group first started showing up at her farm this past June. First, a handful of women made a scene. One even went into their home.
In June, we had a group of women show up. One of the two women went straight into my house, into the front door. And during this time, 4 more people come onto the property. They cornered my daughter, and actually they started like poking her horse in the side, like injuring the horse. And we see her come out of the house, and we got in there, and my cash box that I take to farmers markets was open, cash was out. She was clearly, robbing us.
After that, the family set up security cameras and installed a fence. And then a couple of days ago, they returned. Ashley says within the past week and a half, they've shown up 3 separate times. She filed a complaint with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, but deputies say unless there's clear evidence of a crime, they can't investigate. Well, odds are you've seen the picture-perfect moments popping up on social media. Larch madness has hit the Cascades. It's the couple of weeks each fall when thousands of hikers hit the trails to catch a glimpse of the Golden Pines. But it's led to illegal haphazard parking along highways and people getting into confrontations on the trailhead. On the Washington Trails Association website, one poster wrote in all caps, "Stop loving this trail to death." Another typed, "Seattle people were driving very dangerously and cutting everyone off." We spoke with a handful of hikers who ventured out to see the larches this past weekend.
You knew the people who didn't understand the etiquette because you should not be going up to a mountain goat. And some people were very, very close trying to get pictures.
Well, the crowds certainly aren't ideal. And with the peak color about to run out, even more people may be on the trails this weekend. Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of The Spotlight. Until next week, be smart and stay safe.